Joe, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
I'm very good, my friend. How about you?
I'm doing great. I always love speaking with stand-up comedians and people who have made a career out of making others laugh. And this one is especially enjoyable because one, my family has watched you for years on Impractical Jokers, but two, you're good friends with a guy that I consider to be an acquaintance of mine who's also one of my very favorite comedians. That would be the great Steve Byrne. So we've got,
Oh, the best.
yeah.
Yes,
That
Vern's
guy
the
is a
best.
maniac, and in some ways, it surprises me that he's not bigger. But whatever. That's how these things go sometimes. Do you have a favorite Steve Byrne story as we get going here, Joe?
I mean, I have befriended and known Steve Byrne for about, I think we're almost at 20 years, close to 20 years of friendship,
Wow.
15-ish, 20 years. We met back in the day. But Steve was, I hosted a podcast with him, Two Cool Moms. We did 100 episodes, which was so much fun. He's such a great conversationalist, had a good time. But he opened for us, and we did a tour in London, the Jokers and I, and he opened for us. And I remember he said, "Hey, I have an idea. We're playing these arenas, we're playing the O2 and whatnot." He's like, "It'd be kind of fun. I always wanted to be a rock star. Do you mind if I sing Mr. Brightside with the crowd to end my set?" And we're like, "Yeah." And the camera like followed him around. So he played it. He did it the first night, and everybody went nuts and started singing with him. And we were all in the back, and we started getting all jazzed up to do it. Like we're like, and I looked at Murr and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so great." He's like, "Let's run on stage. Just the place looks full." So we ran on stage and we sang the last verse with everybody. The place goes nuts or whatever. Steve is in the crowd. He's like body surfing. It was such a fun moment. But there's a thing when you perform live, union rules over there are different, where you have to have a 20-minute intermission. So we came out, we had an opener. Steve came out, he did his great set, then he sang with the crowd. We come out, the place goes nuts, and then we're like, "All right, we'll see you in 20 minutes." And we had to leave. And then we had to come back out and like try to bring the energy back up. But yeah, Steve was great, man. He's the best. He's one of my best friends in life and in comedy.
Yeah, I don't know if he does this every show, but when I saw him at the Comedy Mothership back in March, he ended his show like that with Mr. Brightside on top of the I don't know what you call it's like part striptease, part boy band bit that he's become very well known for.
Sausage Party. Yeah, Sausage
Yeah,
Party. It's one of
Sausage
his
Party.
events.
It was such a riot. I've never seen a comedy show end like that before, and everybody was just having an absolute blast.
Yeah, I love that's what I love about like comedy, that you're able just to get in there and just mix it up with people and have fun. And people that are along for the ride have such a great time. That's what we learned a lot with Jokers. Like in the beginning, we thought it was like hard in a way, but in another way, there was a built-in surprise with when the public came along for the ride. It was awesome. It was always so much better, so much fun, and we realized those were the kind of people we were looking for. At the beginning, when we started like looking for marks or people that would go, we were looking for like standoffish people that might give us a reaction of like, "Oh, what's it?" But when we found that people would be game to do stuff, that was so fun. I remember our mind was blown. We had this idea for this stupid bit. We were playing janitors in a supermarket, and we were bored, so we had to get people to make a mess for us, or our boss was going to fire us. So we had to give these people like, a carton of milk or eggs or whatever, and had to make them drop it. And dude, it was hard to make people say no. Like people were so game to help us out, putting on little acts like, "Oh, I dropped the milk." Like it was really, really fun. And those always made the best things for me when the public's in for the fun of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dropping eggs on the ground when you're being told you can do so. That's like, I don't know, popping bubble wrap is the simplest version of it. But walking past an old abandoned warehouse and throwing a rock through the window, not telling anybody to do that. But man, when I've done that in the past as a kid, it was very fulfilling.
Or when there's like a crossing guard and there's a red light, but the cop tells you to run it, and you're like, "No, no." He's like, "Go through." You're like, "Yeah, this is awesome."
That's right. So you now have your first special officially out. People can go watch it at YouTube now, Messing with People. It came out a little bit ago, and I know that you fashioned yourself as a stand-up comedian, so I'm assuming that you're turning that act over now. How is the new act coming along, Joe, that people are going to get to see at Cap City Comedy Club this weekend?
It's yeah, it's really great, man. I really enjoy it. It really is. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories, and I've gotten some really good ones in this mix here. It really is a little bit of evolution of like looking at the kind of person you are and like what you've done and what makes you like think the way you think and act the way you act and whatnot. So I reflect on my parents growing up as a kid being an introvert, and then going forward into college, and then my time with Jokers, of course, a lot of moments there and stories from my time when I was on TV, but cameras weren't rolling. And then into like parenthood, like I talk about my kids. Now I have two. I have an 8-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter, and they're phenomenal. My son hits me with gems all the time. Like, he's unbelievable. We were looking at old photo album, and he looks just like me when he's little. And I go, "Oh, that's me, buddy." And he doesn't miss a beat. He looks right at me. He goes, "Oh my God, I'm going to look like that when I get old." So it's really fun to share some stories about that stuff. But the most thing that I love about performing live is just getting out there and giving the people a reason to laugh, because laughter truly is like what we need in the world. And I'm so happy that I get to do that. Not only do I get something from it, but to be that for people has always been the reason why I love performing live. And that's why I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, and having watched the recent special, your expressiveness always stood out on Impractical Jokers. That plays really well on a comedy stage, especially when you understand the beats and the timing and how to do that right and when to properly insert it too.
Yeah, I'm a physical comedian for sure. I mean, I grew up idolizing Jim Carrey, and I just love. My body is just funny to move, and I always try to punctuate my stuff. My face is always super expressive. I think people always like that about me on the show. I know the cameramen did. They always like zoomed in extra close on my big stupid face. You could see my reactions and whatnot. But I always tend to use my body as a comedic weapon, and I just enjoy it so much.
I use all the tools in the box. Now, you said 10-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
you and I are on very similar timelines. I'm 47. I've got an 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. My 9-year-old son also has an incredible sense of humor, too good for his own good sometimes. I have to tell him,
Yeah,
look, you have to understand your audience, man, and understand some other people that may be watching, and maybe refine things. If you're on the playground, you think it's a smart idea to pull your pants down and show your Pokemon underoos to your friends. But he's slowly getting there. But that's also the creative and comedic process too, is understanding where
for
those
sure.
lines are.
100%. I remember when I was coming up, like I used comedy as a weapon. I was bullied a little bit when I was younger, just because I was nerdy and whatnot. And I used my comedy as a weapon. And I remember my mother had a very important talk with me because I was being very funny. My mom was a school secretary at my grammar school growing up. I'm in eighth grade, and I was very fun and funny, like with the kids and whatnot. And there was this one kid in my class, and we were all laughing, having a good time. And I was making like doing an impression of him, and everybody was laughing except him. And my mom said, "Do you like being funny?" I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, the secret to being funny is to make sure that everybody in the room is laughing." And that always stuck with me. So I always found my humor to be either self-deprecating or not really about anything besides something objective that could be funny. And that just really molded the kind of comedy. And I think that really, through my career, has bled into everything that I do, where I try not to be divisive in my comedy or like pointing out at people or like, look at that kind of thing. So I think it's really important as you're growing up, as parents of people that are raising kids with humor, that you keep an eye on that stuff and help. That's an important lesson I learned early on.
That's a great piece of advice from mom. And you don't want to be cruel to anybody. You don't want somebody to be the butt of the joke. If anything, you maybe make yourself the butt of the joke at times. But
100%.
that's also become a little bit trickier in modern times where there's seemingly someone offended by every little thing that happens. Even people who go to comedy clubs where you maybe need to
Yeah.
be a little bit more open minded or put your guard down a little bit. But we've also always lived in a world where you can't ever please anybody. And maybe some of the those who are the most offended are a little bit more vocal about it now, too.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a platform to, with social media or whatnot, everybody's got a platform to get their opinions out too, which I think has amplified everything. Because I think always somebody would be like, if you went to a comedy club back in the day, 20 years ago, somebody didn't like a joke you made, they came up and told you after the show it was done with. Now it could be a whole campaign, and people voice their opinions on an opinion and whatnot, and gets out of the way. But I think the most part that I've realized is that people that need to laugh will laugh. And I try very hard to make my comedy pretty inclusive, where it's just like, look, I'm telling you the story about when, I was a little fat kid playing baseball and, a long drive caught me on the wrong side of a cup, and I'm just telling the story that, things like that. So it's kind of hard to, but as you're right, people are very, could get offended and whatnot. So something you have to deal with in this landscape, I think.
Okay, so you just mentioned playing baseball when you were a fat kid. By the way, I also played baseball when I was a fat kid. Did
You're
I
like
also
you're like
see?
me. It's like I'm talking
No,
to myself.
yeah, we're talking to a mirror here. Now, I have to admit that I was never a part of any bowling team in high school, but were you actually part of your high school bowling team?
Yeah, I'm a badass bowler, man. I am. I was Lucky Strike, baby. Lucky Strike. That was my jam. Yeah, I was on the bowling team. I was on the math team. I was a real catch in high school.
So wait a second. Wait, well, you were a mathlete as well. I was also a mathlete. So did you just get to go to the bowling alley at the end of your day? That was your last class of the day or whatever?
No, so it was an after school activity for like 3 days a week, and then 3 days a week it was, and then 2 days were practice where you just bowled, and one day would be a competition on Fridays where another school would come to the lanes and you'd bowl against each other.
So
So it was
how far did you get, I guess, in the state playoffs if such a thing existed?
We actually won. We did. I was on the junior varsity team. I wasn't good enough at varsity, and by some fluke, this was a fluke for me. I bowled a 288. Like I wasn't that good, but for some reason I couldn't do anything wrong,
Wow.
and that was like my highest game ever. And I bowled a 288, and we had won the junior varsity championship on that game, which was I was like an unsung hero of that. That was like one of my sports highlights, and it is as lame as it sounds. Because you're just in a bowling alley with like 8 people. Some people score the winning touchdown in the stadium, the place goes nuts. I turned and there was like 6 guys going, yeah. Like, what is that? There's no like band, there's no fanfare. It's just you're sitting there by yourself. They're like, okay, let's go get some nachos.
Half the parents weren't even showing up to support their
No,
kids.
no, the parents wouldn't come. My parents, I never was good at sports, but I always played. I was always like kind of okay, but I never did anything of importance. But there was one game in seventh grade basketball. I was the sixth man. Francesco Di Francesco, Frankie D, was our star player. He fouled out pretty much every game with 2 minutes left in the game, right? So he fouls out in this last game. And both my sisters were athletes too. I have two older sisters. So my mom and dad go to one game each. They're like, nothing's gonna happen with Joey in seventh grade basketball or whatever it is. Don't worry about it. So Frankie fouls out with like 4 minutes left. I ended up scoring, but then nobody to take the lead, and nobody scored for 4 minutes. So I got the winning shot, but it wasn't like a buzzer beater. It just happened. Like everybody forgot about it. And then everybody realized it was like, yeah, you won the game. They put me on their shoulders. They're going nuts. As I'm on the shoulders of everybody on the team, my mother, I'll never forget her face, walks in. She was awesome. She's the best mom in the world. And I know how guilty and ashamed she felt. She walks and sees me on the shoulders. The whole auditorium's going, Gatto, Gatto. And she just has her keys in her hand and a coffee. And she just come back to pick me up. She drops her keys and just starts crying. And I ran up to her. I was like, Mom, I won the game. And I was like, of course, I never let her live that down. But it was like one of those unbelievable moments. That was my only like career highlight, I think.
Our kids these days, they don't realize how lucky they have it with regards to how supportive their parents are for pretty much every endeavor that they take a part of. Back in the 80s and 90s, parents may show up to things. We joke about the bowling thing, but that was the case for a lot of different sports too, by the way, marching band or not.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean the band, forget it. My niece is in the band at college, and my sister goes to watch her play the flute with like 600 kids on the stage. She can't even tell which one she is. I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, get a video. We have the technology. She can send you a video.
That's exactly right. So, for you as somebody who has two kids, I always love asking dads and moms this question. Considering that we live in such strange times in 2025, what do you think the biggest challenges for parents in modern times, Joe?
My daughter's 10 turning into 11, so she's definitely getting in touch with like her emotions and her opinions of people, and that I think navigating peer pressure is an interesting one. She's
Hmm.
doing a pretty good job, and I'm happy about that. I think for that it's navigating peer pressure. For my son, I think it's realizing who his people are. So he had to transfer schools recently because we moved, and he's in a new school, so he had to find a new bunch of people. He's finally got it. But I think that is definitely some tricky things, is like finding, for me, it was never amount of people, it was the quality of people, right? I had two or three, a handful of good friends, I was kind of a popular in college, but there was, my core people that I had. And I think that was really what to do. So for my daughter, it's like not caring what people think unless the right people are saying it. I give her a piece of advice, which I heard is like, don't accept criticism from people that you wouldn't turn to for advice. And that really sits well with me. I like that.
I,
Um, So she's learning that and doing well. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And of course, social media as we start moving into that. I'm not there yet. I'm going to keep my kids off it a little bit more. They're not necessarily looking for it yet. So I think that'll be the next big hurdle.
It's truly one of the biggest battles, in my opinion, is figuring out a way to keep them from just constantly being on screens. Like our plan right now is to maybe keep our kids away from cell phones until they get to high school. I don't know if that's going to be possible because even in second and third grade, half their classmates have
Yeah.
phones, iPads, watches, or something along those lines. It just becomes increasingly difficult each year, more difficult each year.
Yeah, my kids have iPads and they watch their programs. They're not allowed on YouTube. They're not allowed on anything like that. But they could watch like the Disney Plus or whatever. But we only give them from like a half hour,
Yeah.
maybe like during the week. It's maybe once or twice a night, once or twice a week, and then the weekends they could have it sometimes. But they're normally not looking for it. If the weather's nice out, they're outside playing. My kids are like that. They're very active. They play well together. They're only 2 years apart, so that's like the sweet spot I think, where they're actually like buddy still, and they can keep up with each other. So but there are times when we like get lazy or we're sick or they're homesick from school and they're on it a lot and then they just start binge watching the show and then they just start looking for it too much. So it definitely is something to navigate as well.
So wait a second. You said you grew up as an introvert, but you were really popular in high school. Was there a point where that switch flipped, where all of a sudden you went from somebody who was maybe a little bit more quiet and afraid to talk to more outgoing, which is what is, of course, required to become popular?
Yeah, I found my humor in junior year
Hmm.
of high school. I wasn't necessarily popular in high school. When I went to college, I became pretty popular because I was pretty much smart and social, and I didn't drink. So people would always look for, look for me for the report of like on Friday morning if everybody went out Thursday night, like, why is my girlfriend not talking to me? What happened to my car? Like I was like the newsroom. It was like at a desk in the morning. Yeah, I've never drunk. I never been drunk. Never tried a cigarette or a drug in my life, and that's something that is always treating me well. And I just had humor and smarts and all that. And it was just a nice mix of things where it worked out to my advantage.
Gosh, on the theme of messing with people, which was the title of your first stand-up special that people can watch for free on YouTube, I feel like that was a great opportunity to mess with people when they're asking you to help them remember what happened the night before.
I'm not gonna lie to you, there was one or two that we had some fun with. A couple of my friends for sure.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Joe, this has been a real pleasure. Last question now, because I love stand up. You obviously love making people laugh for a living too, whether on Impractical Jokers back in the day or now on comedy stages across the country. What do you love about stand up comedy?
I would say that I love the event of making a reason for people to go out. I love the reason to fill a room with people that just want to laugh. And I think there's not many other art forms where you get that, where the goal is to have people to laugh and smile and have a good time. And like, that's what we're looking to do, So I think that's the biggest thing for me. And that's not lost on me that I'm fortunate enough to get to do that with people. So yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about stand up is the goal is laughter. And what, what better job is there that the goal is laughter, right?
No doubt about that. He is Joe Gatto. Check him out at Cap City Comedy Club this weekend, Friday, 7 and 9:15, Saturday, 7 and 9:30, Sunday, 6 and 8:30. Of course, an alum of Impractical Jokers, also a published author. Where's Barry and The Dogfather, his two books right now, and an alumnus of his high school bowling team back in the day. Joe, this is a real honor and pleasure. Thank you so much for the time today, man.
It's been really great. Thank you so much.